I'm in the main room today. My dad left at about 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday, so it's mostly just me and my mum. And my sister is visiting her second child, and yeah, she has to travel 2 hours every day, or I think it's an hour and 40 minutes. But yeah, she has to do that to visit the child. But yeah, I've been having talks with her about the house that we have in Birmingham, and I think she would like me to buy up that house. I'm going to buy another quarter as soon as she buys this second flat that she's got. And as soon as that happens, I'll own half her house. But yeah, she ideally wants to sell me the whole thing, but I won't have any money after I've bought another quarter. I might have a few thousand left. But yeah, I have an option to go back to work, do massage, and in 2 years' time, I could actually buy whole of the half. I mean, I could do it even in stages. It's £17,000 for a tenth of it, so I could just give her £17,000 every 6 months, and well, not every 6 months, but I'll be able to pay another 10% within. She wants as much money as possible, but she doesn't actually want to. I was saying, would you like pay off the mortgage, or would you get another one? And she was actually thinking of getting like a third house or something. He owns some land in Portugal, and so she's thinking that maybe she should, if I do buy more of the Sophie's house in Birmingham, she could use it to build a house down there, which is not a bad idea. You know, building a house is very hard, and I don't think my sister could do that. But my sister's partner's dad was a builder, and he knows quite a lot of things about building, so he might be able to do that. So that's not a bad plan, but yeah, part of me feels like the child that's is in foster care still. Part of me feels like it's stealing from the poor and giving to the rich. You know, Sophie right now has a one-bedroom flat, and I you know, she's with a partner who's very, very good and is a very good dad. But it feels like the only reason why the child isn't with them right now is because of the small place that they're living in. You know, it's a one bedroom, and ever since last April, there has been three of them, so two adults and a baby. You know, I think it would be reasonable to say that we want to see how well you can cope with the baby. So maybe it was reasonable to wait until after the birth. You know, she got pregnant with him straight away, and they were together for 9 months. You know, to be honest, I think they should have done more to bring the children together, to take the child out of foster care. Because a part of me feels like the only reason why they didn't do that is because they looked at the nice house that the foster carer has, and was thinking, well, where would the baby rather live? Would the child who's one rather live in a nice big 3-bedroomed house in the south of London, in the south of England, and have you know, a good mother, and a father that's sort of around but not, you know, would the child rather live in a nice big house, or in a 1-bedroomed, a small flat in Hawley with a mother that can't be left alone with a child, and a father who you know, who is working. So I think it's almost like they've taken from it's almost like a wealth thing. Like the child will be in a much happier house and much more richer house. The problem is there's a problem, because the child doesn't belong to the foster carer, and now the child is going to have to go back with Sophie and the partner, which is happening way too late, I think, because the child is now attached to the foster parent, and you know, the life that he has been living for the last 2 years or 3 years now. No, it's 2 years. The life that he's been living for the last 2.5 years, or 2 years, life he's been living has been quite good. You know, it's been good, and so it's going to be a bit of a shock for him to go into a 1-bedroom flat. Now, Sophie is in the middle of the purchase of the 2-bedroom flat, so by March she should have still got a throat thing. She should have 2, but it's just, I think he would adjust better then. But it's it feels bad for me. It feels bad for me because it's like social services says that I wasn't good enough, but that was, and therefore I feel like it's a wealth thing. It's got something to do with this woman being wealthier and this woman having a nice house. And then you can think about all the kids that don't have bad parents and yet are living in one bedroom flats. You know, there's a lot of kids that are living in one bedroom flats or studio flats with their parents, but because their pet mum is good, you can't take the child away. But it's just, foster caring is a very, very expensive thing. Now, if you realise that Birmingham has this really big museum, but they can't afford to keep it open because it's too expensive to open, even though they already had the stuff in it, even though keeping it open is literally just going to mean having paying a few staff to just walk around the place and make sure that no one's graffitiing or smashing up or stealing things, you know, it would be minimal. £100,000 would probably be enough to keep the Birmingham Museum open for like a whole year, you know, and then to think that they've taken one child that didn't actually need to be in foster care for that second year because Sophie's new partner is a good dad. He's got 3 kids who are older now, and he's done it, and he's loyal, and he realises that Sophie cannot be left alone with the child. You know, he realises all these things, and he wants to take responsibility of the child. And by keeping the child away for longer than they should have done, you haven't destroyed his bond. But most people's bond with their child would be far less if they know that they missed out 2 years of their life. That's how I feel towards him. Like, I feel like I don't want to meet him now. I feel like I have no... I just feel angry. I feel really, really angry that they didn't let me have the child. And I will never, ever forgive them for that. And I feel like I don't like the child. I feel like I want to blame the child for what the social services did. The social services denied my rights to look after the child, and now I want to blame the child by not having anything to do with the child. You know, that is how I feel. And Marco doesn't feel this way, but a lot of people would. It's like the social services have done whatever they can to try and make the parents not want the child so that they can keep the child in foster care just so they can make £100,000 a year off this child because of all the daily meetings and the shit that they do. All the shit that where they talk and they don't say anything relevant, anything important, nothing of value, nothing that you can learn from. Just I could listen to the whole meeting and if I was to tell you all the things that I've learned in that meeting, I wouldn't be able to tell you one thing. They could have been speaking in a different language for all I heard. You know, it was irrelevant, and that was all my brain was thinking. And so it's just pointless. And then to think that, you know, that they could have taken that money and actually put it on something that could have made the whole community better. You know, I'm walking around and I'm just seeing chewing gum, and then you look around at all the buildings and it's like, oh yeah, that looks really dirty, I mean, how much would it be to get a cleaner to just walk down the high street, get rid of all the chewing gum, clean up all the black mold spots that are developing on the buildings of the main streets? You know, how much would that be just to get 6 cleaners to just go down the high streets and tidy the place up? And then you think, but why are they not doing that? Oh, it's because they're wanting, you know, a team of 6 people to look after one child, and they're so badly organised and so badly. I've been hearing stuff. Sophie and my mum are not telling me things because they know that I'm going to start talking online, so I can't tell you all the stuff that has been happening. But they keep complaining. They keep saying stuff. Oh, you wouldn't believe what happened, and oh, you know, they keep saying things like this, like they're so shocked at and appalled at what social services are doing, but they won't tell me because they don't want me to tell the world. I just don't understand their logic. They're fucking stupid as Matt. They're fucking stupid. Okay, they're really, really fucking stupid. But the reason why the social services can be fucking stupid too is because the people that they're working with are even more stupider. And therefore, you know, it's smart. If there's problems, it's smart to talk about it and to say where the issues are. You know, one of the issues I think was that the person who was trying to put the second child into foster care, he was actually disappointed at the fact that he didn't get that second child into foster care. There's nothing wrong with the father's ability to look after a child. And then so to think that someone would feel disappointment, it's almost like they've got an inner anger, an inner hatred. You know, anyone that would work in social services okay, you might be doing it for the sake of the child, but there's a lot of people that are doing it because they love control. They love the thought of being like, I'm better than you. I have a horrible, shitty life. I'm a horrible, shitty person. But you know what? I work in social services. Therefore, I can find other people who are even stupider than me. And then I can boss them around, make them feel like a shit parent, tell them that they're doing everything wrong. And we can find, they're blaming why this has been so long, why the child has been in foster care for so long. They said, well, it's because you failed the test. Because you failed the test, there's a high chance that you could have lost the child. So it wasn't a choice between whether the child was in foster care for a year or whether the child was in foster care for 3 years. No, it was the choice of whether the child goes into foster care for 3 years or whether the child gets adopted. And they've used this, we're going to adopt the child, as a way of kind of controlling and putting fear and putting power and dominance over people's lives. And it's not the truth. The reason why the child was in foster care for so long is because you failed people that you shouldn't fail. They are failing people deliberately so that they can try and make money out of the children. And you say, oh no, that's not what they're doing. We don't get paid any more for having children in. The idea is you have children on your books. Now, if you start saying, okay, they're safe, if you start passing people and saying, okay, yes, that passed the test, more children are going to come out of foster care, and then you're going to have less children in foster care. And if there's less children in foster care, the government is not going to give them so much money. So it's not a personal thing. It's not, if I give these children into foster care, I'm going to lose my job. No, it's a we want as many people in foster care so that our organisation, imagine it's like the church. You have the Catholic Church, which is like an organisation, and it's not about making money for the church, because maybe you make money for the main church and it doesn't even go to your church, but it goes to the body of the church. But it's like social services is an organisation that wants to make money, and the more people there are on the books, the more kids there are on the books, the bigger the organisation is, the more money that they need. And just to think how England seems to be falling apart bit by bit because no one's cleaning anything, and it's disgusting how people just get chewing gum and drop it on the floor, and then you could just, if I was to walk down the street and just try and jump from chewing gum to chewing gum, I'd probably be able to do quite, I would easily be able to walk down the street. So people are not cleaning the streets, people are not keeping the museums open. Then I'm thinking, why am I so depressed? And it's just because there's nothing to do. There's one spa that's a long way away, and it's we're not allowed to use the phone by the pool, which is annoying. And I want more options. That there's no other jacuzzi in the centre of Birmingham. Like, Birmingham's a massive place, and there's only like one spa that has a jacuzzi in it. And I feel like I can't complain because I'm just so glad that it has one. But if the government stopped spending money on babies that don't need to be in foster care, and started spending this same amount of money on cleaning up the streets and adding more spas, giving more funding to spas, because that's spas help you relax and stuff. And then there's just one in the whole of Birmingham. There's two on the outskirts are quite good. I'm actually tempted to sell my house and go live by one of the ones on the outskirts, just because there's a Virgin Active on the outskirts, which is absolutely lovely, and I've been there a few times, but it just takes an hour and a half to get there, and I can't go there because of that. But it's annoying to think that I spoke to someone in the museum, telling him that I was asking about the funding and why is this museum never open, and why is upstairs not open? Surely you would only just need a guard to just go in there and check. Well, how much can it be to just keep an upstairs area open? There was 2 rooms in the Birmingham Museum, and it's hardly ever open. And she said it's been open for a while. I just didn't know, but it's like 2 rooms, and it's just, how much more would it be to do that? And I was telling him that I think it's the government is spending huge amounts of money on the wrong things, basically. They opened up a nice cycle path down this sort of motorway track near my house, which I did use, but I've never seen anyone else use it, and they ended up closing it after. It was there for about a year or 2. But yeah, they took out the whole road, put in a whole new cycle motorway highway. Never saw anyone use it other than maybe one Uber driver, Uber cyclist, and then they ended up taking it all away. And I think there wasn't many people using it. That would have cost a lot of money to sort of put in the green turf and stuff. So and they're saying that Birmingham's bankrupt. I think it's the Olympic Games that they had. It wasn't Olympic, the other one, Commonwealth Games that they had. It's put Birmingham into debt because these games are supposed to help the economy, but really you don't, because you spend thousands of pounds on work building up buildings and we didn't even get them done in time, and it's a total mess. And I just feel like people aren't organised. People aren't organised anyway. I can say that the Middle East isn't organised because the Islam side of Jerusalem is ugly. It's not very well built. Okay, England is better than that, but I feel like England's better than that because most of the buildings were done 100 years ago in a time when England was doing well, and I feel like it's falling apart right now. And I'm trying to think about why it's falling apart, and then I'm thinking about what's happening with Leo and just the 6 carers that there are to sort of, then lawyers and just an endless test with people that are almost definitely going to just be passive and be like, oh, you failed, oh, okay, I failed, I believe that. I wouldn't say that the reason why this child has been in foster care for so long is because they failed a test. No, I think it's because social services are deliberately failing people so that they can keep the child in foster care for a long time. And then if the parents start complaining, why have you kept the child in foster care for such a long time? Now he actually sees this foster carer as his mum, and he's going to have a bit of a shock adjustment going from a 3-bedroomed house with kids that he's living with to a 1-bedroom flat where there's going to be, the bedroom is basically just a bed with 2 cots on the side, so it's packed basically. There's not much, so he's going to have to go through adjustment until the second flat that comes through. When that's come through, things will get better. But yeah, I think children don't understand money, but they do understand wealth when it comes to where they're living in, and to go from a nice house with his own bedroom to a room where he's sharing with 2 other people, three other people, it's going to be of a shock adjustment. And it's almost thinking of that image makes me feel like they've been taking from the poor and giving to the rich, and then saying, not only will we give you the child, we'll also give you £400 a week, £500 to look after it. Oh, and the child goes to nursery, which the government pays for, and the child gets paid holidays. So if they go on holiday, they get money to take the child on holiday. So they're making huge amounts of money off each child, and it's just annoying to think that if you had have spent the 2 or maybe it might even be £300, if they're paying for nursery and foster care and a long list of other things, that the petrol, that this child is 2 hours away and they're paying for the petrol for my sister and her partner to come and visit. So, and they've been doing that for months. Or the train, they've been paying for the train journeys. Why they've chosen to put the child so far away just so they can spend huge amounts of money on petrol it's just a huge amount of money. I'm not thinking about it from the child's perspective. The child is probably happy. He gets to have his own room. He gets to have a nice big house. This is great for him. So I shouldn't complain on his side, because he's getting a much better life. But if you think about the cost it costs to do this, and then think about how England is falling apart, how the museums are never open, how you've only got 2 rooms open in the Birmingham Museum and the only museum in Birmingham, and then there's just dirt and chewing gum everywhere, and high streets are falling apart, and they're struggling to make money because they're not getting enough people in. The high streets aren't pretty. I'm sure they used to be pretty before. Maybe it's just because I'm living in Birmingham now, and Birmingham's like one of the ugliest places in England. So I'm sure there are loads of pretty places in England. Maybe I'm just complaining because England, Bognor Regis is not pretty. I'm sure Bognor Regis used to be pretty 10 years ago, whereas it doesn't look very nice. Maybe it's the weather as well, I have to admit. In England, it's cold in the winter, and it's all foggy, and it just looks bleak everywhere. So maybe that's it, but it's annoying when you know that they're spending billions of pounds on kids, And the only reason why they're doing it is because they've got some corrupt people in social services that are failing people and making them not pass tests, so that they can try and blame the fact that they failed on the person who fails rather than on the assessor that's doing the tests. And then they're using this as a sort of, oh, they're not safe, they're child abuse. There's a difference between taking a child off someone because that child's life is in danger, or because that person is not competent, or they're mad, or they're dangerous. There's a difference between taking a child off for that reason and taking a child off someone just because, oh, they're on a 1-bedroom flat, they don't have that much money. We can offer a better life. It's not about taking kids off people so that you can give them a better life. It's about taking kids off people to keep them safe. And I don't feel like child services can tell the difference between children that need to be in foster care because it's safe for them there, and children that are in foster care just because, wow, why would the child want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment with someone when with their parents, when they could live in a whole big house and have lots of people, a whole organization of people make money off it. And you think about that and you just think, well, England is falling apart in its looks. And anyway, I'm angry at this. I know it's a lot better in the past. I heard that social services 30 years ago would actually take kids off parents and forcibly adopt them, even if, so say if you're 16 and single, or say if you're 20 and single, they would actually take kids off single parents and force them into adoption, just because it wasn't considered right to have a kid as a single person. So social services are a lot better than they were 20 years ago, but just because they're a lot better, that doesn't mean that they're doing things right. I think whoever's doing these assessments, they're wrong in what they're saying. It's assessing it to see how safe a person is, how competent a person is, not about assessing them just, do you think we can fail them and they won't say anything? Yes, I think we could fail them and they won't say anything. Okay, so yeah, you failed. Why did Marco fail? I understand why Sophie would fail. I don't understand why Marco would fail.